Hello and welcome to Beyond the Hustle. I'm Alice, a certified NLP mindset and women's health coach, and I'm so beyond excited you're here. This podcast is for the human behind the success, the woman behind the business, behind the grind of building that legacy. Here we dive deep into mindset, rewiring your subconscious mind, nervous system regulation, and energetics. Basically everything that helps you feel grounded and grow sustainably. Whether you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, burnt out, or ready to step into your next level of success and self, this podcast will give you the tools, insights, and shifts to help you move forward with clarity, calm, and conviction. So if you're ready to stop hustling from fear and finally build success that feels as good as it looks, you're in the right place. Welcome to Beyond the Hustle. Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Hustle podcast, the podcast for building the human that you are behind the business and behind the success. I'm not going to lie, guys. I've just come back from a walk that was very reflective, very in the zone, very, in a headspace of thinking of what's actually important to me and what do I actually want out of, success, out of the business that I am building. And I really just felt pulled to film a podcast episode for you guys. So that is why I am literally sat on my living room floor. Literally just got the camera out, got my mic out, and we're just gonna go straight into it, because something that I have been kind of reflecting on and thinking on recently is my version of success has changed massively since I first became, self-employed as a fitness coach, to then becoming self-employed as a mindset coach, contracted, and really actually just now where I am now, in being self-employed for almost 3 years. 3 years, yes, 3 years in September. And a lot has changed, and a lot has changed internal of me, obviously. A lot has changed external of me, and also just like what I actually value and what it is that I'm wanting to build and what I want actually out of success has changed. But I do feel like it has been something that has constantly been, at the very depth of the surface. Like very deep down, and it's probably been a case of me actually just not allowing myself to really full send and like go for it and also accept it. So I kind of wanted to make this episode because I work with a lot of, obviously, like, if you're a past client of mine, if you're a current client of mine, if you're a future client of mine, then you are going to be someone that has like big goals. You're going to be someone who's very ambitious, who, has a successful business, wants to run a successful business, wants to run a profitable business, but also someone who really values like presence and connection and, conviction and confidence, but also just like deep, true like alignment is what I'll say, and like ease and flow as well in building and maintaining that business as well, because that's definitely something that I've now started to shift and like actually tap into. And what I will say with that as well is the more that I've tapped into like being more led with my feminine. Don't get me wrong, like when you are building a business, like you got to have both masculine and feminine, right? Like you do. And that also just goes in any like relationships, just in anything in general. But now that I've been leaning more into, I would say, my feminine, but also leaning more into what I truly actually want, that's been the thing that has actually allowed me to scale with so much ease, clarity, and like with speed this year. And I know a lot of people say like success loves speed, and then they, go and like panic make decisions. They go and run a business that's fueled by overwhelm. And it's like, yeah, success does love speed in that sense of, yeah, maybe you're getting quick cash injections and maybe it's looking, successful on the outside, but it's probably feeling terrible on the inside. And I've known that from, past experiences, past launches, past businesses, and that just isn't me anymore. And the reason that I really actually had this reflection in the first place was I went for a walk with my mum at the weekend. She might be watching this, hello if you are. But I went for a walk with my mum on the weekend, and she did say to me that she was like, your approach to everything now was a lot more wholesome. And firstly, I was like, thank you, because that is honestly music to my ears. But I then was reflecting back to her that I was like, yeah, I feel like my past versions of success was very money driven, was very ego driven, was very, I want a business that looks successful, that people, maybe idolize, or people, you're traveling all the time, you're doing all these things, you have opportunities, you're something that looks like impressive to others, if you will. But it didn't really fulfill me on the inside. And I was constantly asking myself, like, what is that I'm chasing? Why am I chasing a bigger month? Why am I chasing more clients when I'm already like at capacity? Like, why am I chasing more, right? that's not me anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely am someone, I've got goals, I have intentions, I have a vision for my business, and I have things that I am ticking off along the way, but it's coming from a very different place. And what's important to me now is actually feeling, I've got some notes written down that I wrote on my walk, but what's important to me now is actually feeling like fully fulfilled day in, day out, feeling like calm in myself, calm in my business, having space for being a human, not just a robot. And I think that's something that so many people struggle with is we are not robots. We are going to have bad days. We're going to have, days where we feel a little bit off or we feel a bit low energy, or, as women as well, and people with cycles, like we're going to have days where, the luteal phase, you might be in luteal trenches. You might be struggling with your menstrual phase. You might not be feeling your best, right? I experienced that as someone with endo as well, right? So endometriosis, sometimes it just randomly kicks my ass, right? And I think it's like actually having success, but being able to also be a human in that is so wildly important to me now that it wasn't important to me in the past of just get up and go, just get up and do the thing. Not anymore. Like literally that could not be me anymore. And but it's also, success is also like being able to hold space for my relationship. And I say that in a space of like being able to take weekends off, knowing that my partner works Monday to Friday. I can take a weekend off, and take the weekends off so that we can actually just have space for us. We can have our date nights. We can, through the week, we can have our dinner together, watch TV together, yap, whatever it may be together. Like, in the morning, have our morning coffee together. Like, that space as well is equally just as important as success to me as a number in my bank account, because if I don't have like myself and time for my relationship, then like I'm losing out on one of the biggest things and most important things of my life, right? And again, that's something that like in a past version of success for me, it was very much like hustling, sitting on the sofa and being at my laptop. And don't get me wrong, there's some days where that just has to happen, but that is not me overall anymore. Like that could not be further from how I operate my business all the time. If you're listening to this podcast having a realization that you're always burnt out in business, always struggling to hold it all, from the responsibility to the visibility to the schedule, always navigating the feeling of not having enough time for everything you want to do inside and outside of your success, then this is your sign. Because inside my one-to-one coaching, we don't just place a band-aid on the strategy and call it a day. We dive deep into the patterns, actions, beliefs, and fears that are currently driving your business and keeping you stuck in burnout, overwhelm, and panicking around your growth. This space is designed specifically for the women ready to build a version of success that truly lights them up, that allows them to surpass the 10K months, to hire the team, and to expand without constantly losing themselves inside of it. In every coaching journey, you will receive a personal in-depth audit diving into your subconscious mind, your nervous system, and capacity blockers, as well as your structures and systems, so that we can understand the exact shifts we need to move through to create sustainable success. You will always get access to one-to-one subconscious strategy calls and support along the way, so that your fears will truly never run the show again. If this sounds like something you would be interested in, then you can find out more information in the show notes, or you're also welcome to message me personally on Instagram with any questions. Now let's get back to the podcast. So, do you know what's funny is I feel a little bit resistant to say this next one, because I don't know why. I felt resistant to this. To be honest, I felt resistance in saying and actually acknowledging this version of success that I actually want for a few different reasons. But this next one, like for like overall, for the alignment, for the ease, for the flow, for the calm, all of that, right? But this next one as well, I definitely felt like resistance to actually say, but one day I will be running my business like as a mom, and my aim is to be able to run that as the best mom, run a business and be the best mom possible, and have space for days with my kids, days off doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be, but actually just holding space, not just for my business and me, but holding a very big amount of space, a generous amount of space for actually looking after and pouring into like my kids, right? My future kids, okay, my future family. And yeah, I have felt a lot of resistance in actually like acknowledging and saying that. And my friends and family will know I have been excited to be a mom for so very long. It's not in the pipeline, okay? Don't get any ideas. But it's something that I've been so excited for. And I think like where I am now at the ripe age of 28 is in a space of actually allowing myself to acknowledge that and kind of claim that where I am now of how can I set myself up for those future years as well, of I'm not burning myself out now and then expecting myself to be okay taking time off later, right? I'm always very, and that's not coming from a place of like, oh, predicting, because it's more preparing. I'm not predicting things to be easier in the future, but I'm preparing, right? And that's really where my mindset is in terms of anything in business now. I'm not predicting that months are going to be slower, but I'm preparing for the slower months. And that really comes down to also just having that security and that stability and that safety and from the inside, right? And having that internal safety, right? Because I've been in businesses and been in versions of success before that have ran on like constant fuel, constant output, constantly doing more. And that also just is like, again, not me at all. It's not what I want for myself. It's not what I want for my future. It's not what I want as a future, family, my future family and whatnot as well. And I know as well, like, I think part of the reason that I've been resistant to acknowledging and actually saying out loud, like, this is what I want my success to be, and this is what I want my business to feel like and to be and run as, even though like it actually already is there. But I've been resistant to actually acknowledging, like, even as a future mom, like, and again, I'm it's not in the pipeline, but as a future one day mom, like, to even acknowledge that that's what I want, because I think I'm very aware that a lot of people will be saying, just you wait. Just you wait until you're a mom. Or it's the same when people say, just you wait until you have those X amount months, or you have that, whatever X amount of clients and whatnot. And respectfully, like, I am going to choose to believe what I choose to believe. Whatever story I choose to subscribe to is the story that I choose to subscribe to. And that's what I then choose to lean into. And I'm a big believer in what I'm choosing to lean into then becomes my reality. And that I also am a big believer in that, because that's what I've known to be true. But yeah, I think some of the resistance comes from the belief, not the belief, but from the perception that you can't do both. But I also then get to know that a lot of people believe that you can't have success and fun, that you can't have success and feel calm in your business, that you can't scale your business without it feeling like really fucking hard. And I think back on all of those limitations that I've heard and taken on in the past, and then reflected on, like, even this year alone, of what my business has actually looked like, what my success has actually looked like, and how I've actually felt behind that. And knowing that I have actually felt the calmest I ever have. I've actually felt so happy, so fulfilled, and I've actually just continued to grow. And that really has just come from a place for me of, doing the inner work, but then also deciding what it is that I actually want to lean into and what it is that I want to subscribe to. Because also the truth is that success isn't just about your income. Success isn't just about your client numbers or like your ability to, travel the world and work as you go. That isn't what success is actually about. Sure, on paper, that's what success is. Sure, when you're looking at your, whatever profit at the end of the year, whatever it may be, your tax, like, that's what success is. But success is really how you feel operating the business and actually scaling it. Just going to say that again, because I feel like that is so important. Success is actually about how you feel operating the business and running it. And that really is where a lot of people actually go wrong in not creating something sustainable, or in creating something and then actually burning out and like crashing inside of it, because they're actually not allowing themselves to operate it from a sustainable standpoint. And that's really where it's like, it does come down to, what are the stories that you're subscribing to? Are you deciding that success has to come with a lot of pressure, and then you're always feeling pressured and overwhelmed and chaotic? And again, it's like coming back to that success loves speed. But are you looking at that from the lens of success loves speed? So I have got to be chaotic, and I've got to be pressured, and I've got to be panicked, and I've got to be going all the time in my business? Or are you looking at it from a place of success loves speed, but it gets to be sustainable speed, of I'm going to actually look after myself so that I can move as fast as I can, so I can make quick decisions, so I can actually, launch things with more quickness and ease, and be in my creative flow and go from a sense of overflow, rather from trying to pour from like an empty cup. And so one of the things that I would love for you guys to take away from this reflective mini episode is to really begin to understand what are the stories that you are currently subscribing to and currently like leaning into. And when you're questioning these stories and understanding, like, is it that success loves speed? Is it that success is going to be hard? Is it that you can't be a mom and you can't be a business owner? Is it that yeah, you can't have success without feeling chaotic and overwhelmed and burnt out. Like, what are the stories that you're actually playing into? Is it that you're not good enough for it as well? And also questioning like the stories that you have maybe taken on from other people as well, the ones that you've absorbed and chosen to lean into as well. And then I want you to question, like, are those stories serving you or are they hindering you? And if it is hindering you, how? What is it causing? What are those stories or that singular story causing you? And what's like the ripple effect? And when you think of the ripple effect, I want you to think of, okay, so leaning into this story, how am I leaning into this story? What does it look like to be leaning into this story? And what's the actual like shockwave? What's the ripple effect of that happening, right? Because if I was choosing to build a business, and if I think back to where I have been in the past of building a business that was very much built on chaos and overwhelm and hustle and go, 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 and yeah, success loves speed. Sure, okay, it looked great actually looking at it day to day. However, the ripple effect was that I was constantly comparing myself to other people's launches. I was constantly exhausted, constantly, trying to add more to my plate, never able to actually properly focus and sit and do the damn thing, and then feeling like a freaking fraud at the end of the day because, here's all these people posting their wins and they're doing X, Y, and Z, and here I am struggling to get through the day, right? And that was really the ripple effect for me of someone's got to change, but also I wasn't happy in that. And then my final question for you is, what if you simply chose to lean into a different story instead and then actually act in alignment with that story and begin to then watch that story actually play out for you? And listen, I know a lot of you are going to be sitting there going, it's not that easy, Alice, but what if it actually is? What if it actually is as easy as you deciding that that's not your story, but you're going to choose to lean into and build on this story of, success is sustainable, success is fun, exciting, that success gets to be calm and you get to feel like your best self, that you can be a mum and build the most successful version of business yet. Like, what if you actually chose to lean into that and then you chose to move in alignment with that and then that got to become your reality instead? What if it actually got to just be as simple as that? Final thing that I will say is to making that one decision could be the pivotal shift for you in creating that business that feels fulfilling, content, happy, exciting, like supportive, and something that you adore. That is honestly what you deserve and what I want for you. But I'm going to love and leave you guys here. Hope you're having a lovely day, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.